put him up to that.
You
no
know
kid is going to think about doing that. But some his parent or somebody, friend told him, hey, man, go to the dog pound and give the money sign. And here's this little kid. He couldn't have been 3 feet tall. But in his uniform, wear a number 2 and giving the money sign to the dog pound, and the fan just ate it up. I'm sure the TV cameras didn't catch it because they don't cover halftime, but it was hilarious, and I just figured somebody made that kid do that because he's not going to do it on his own. But anyway, highlighted the night for the dog pound people.
Speaking of things like that, off field that tied into the Browns game, did you hear about the guy who went on Twitter and the morning before the game, he tweeted out that if Michael Sam sacks Manziel and gives the money sign, free drinks for everyone in the world on me forever. And then, of course, it happened, and he got
just that way.
He got blown up on Twitter with people, and so of course he had to come out and say, "I promised mankind free booze for all eternity." Probably not the smartest thing that I ever did.
Yeah, might not have been the smartest thing he ever did.
That was pretty funny, though. But you know what? I was looking, too, at some of these. This is an interesting resource here, looking at the snap counts and the different things, talking about Kirksey, and I think this just points out he was in for 37 plays. He had 5 tackles. He had 2 assists. He had a tackle for loss, an interception, and a pass defense. So 7, 8, 9, 10 of the 37 plays that he was in the game, he was directly involved. That's a significant impact on the game on his part, on his side of the ball,
Yeah, and I didn't know if Robertson did he play much or
yeah, he played 25
I didn't see him
plays.
out there an awful lot. I saw they started Dansby and Kirksey on the inside. Am I right?
Yeah, he played 25 snaps. He had a tackle and 3 assists for the game. So.
Okay, yeah, didn't make the impact. I did notice that Kirksey's he's the starter, and that looks like that's been established now, and obviously that looks like a good thing.
Yeah, for sure. I'm looking at some of the other plays to see if anything sticks out. Here's the other thing I wanted to mention to you, where we're talking about worrisome things on the defense and the lack of a pass rush. Jabal Sheard. How about the lack of anything all preseason? Saturday night. 20 plays, he was in the game, lowest of all the outside linebackers, and no stats registered at all. He was not really in on anything, and he's been practically invisible all preseason. Now, I know that he may have more coming in when they get more unique with the defenses and stuff, but man, we've seen a difference. He was a part of this defense last year. So far, not really not doing much of anything. And Mingo, although he did get he should have gotten credit for that sack that Kruger ended up getting in the backfield there, but he's another one. 30 plays, no stats registered. I mean, hopefully those two guys, those are going to go a long way to getting pressure on the quarterback. That's where it's missing from right there.
Yeah, and Sherd, all we heard coming into training camp was that Pettin loves Sherd, and Sherd's going to be he's primed for a big season. We did see him on the Dansby sack when Dansby came up the middle. Sherd was right there with him, almost to the point where he could have gotten half a sack. I agree. He was right there taking the QB down with Dansby. But that's the only play that I even noticed in '97 in the ball game. Like you say, it was not a big impact. And, the coaches really like him. Now, he didn't play, I believe, in the first couple of games. So this was our first chance to see Sherd, if I'm not mistaken. He might have played Monday night a little bit.
I was going to say, I think he played some
game.
Monday. He didn't play in the first one, but he did play Monday, yeah.
But, who knows? Obviously, they've kept it kind of vanilla. I think we're going to see a lot more stunning and blitzes by DBs and blitzes by inside as well as outside backers and those kinds of things. You've got to believe that Pettin's got more up his sleeve than he's shown, but you've got to hope that it involves Sherd and Kruger and the guys and Mingo and the guys that you're paying big money to get after the quarterback.
For sure. I mean, you can tell by looking at some of the breakdowns here who the Browns were really on the fence about last week. When you look at the snap counts, you brought up McFadden on defense. He ended up playing 90+%, 92% of the defensive plays. He played 74. I mean, literally, he played practically the entire game. The next closest was Gilbert. He only played 50. So, I mean, McFadden, they were clearly giving him a bulk of work to see what they got. He got the majority of the plays. You saw a lot of Jordan Poyer out there. They wanted to get some looks at him. And then offensively, too, I think that you brought up Lewis, but I think he's sealed his spot as far as getting a spot with this team. I thought maybe the fumbles would hurt him, but he definitely got the most work. They had him out there for half of the game offensively. He got more snaps than anybody else. Weston Tate had the lowest count because I think they kind of knew what they had in those guys. Most of the work went to Dion. It went to Gray, and Obadiah got himself 11 snaps as well. But you could see they gave 27 plays to Dion Lewis, threw him some passes, gave him some runs. I think they wanted to make sure that but I think he picked himself up. Also, too, how about that one blitz? That man, he picked one up nice. Dude was huge, hulking guy. I can't remember who it was, but he was way bigger than Lewis. Do you remember the play from being there?
Yeah,
where Lewis
I
picked
do.
it up? Yeah, man. Nice block pickup there, man.
Yeah, now the other thing that's a little bit of a mystery to me in this, and we talked a little bit about Marlon Moore last week, because your Bill Chekis guy had
him.
Pointed him out to you. I don't even think he's gotten a snap from scrimmage.
Nope.
He looks good to me just running back kickoffs. I tell you, for the third week in a row, he was impressive. Just getting vertical and taking it up the field, and not necessarily breaking tackles, but just making people miss and picking up 30, 40 yards on a kickoff return. I'd like to see the guy streaking down the field chasing a passed ball. So, I don't know if he's got any shot to make this team, but geez, he's done everything and more what's been asked of him on kickoff returns.
I agree with you. He definitely a bit surprising to me that we haven't seen. He had no snaps the other day. I don't think he has any. Well, I'd have to go back and look. He may have caught a pass in one of the other games, but it was late if he did. But you're right. The little bit of returning that he's done, I'm like, man, I wouldn't mind seeing some of what this guy's got too. So maybe we'll see some of him on Thursday. Maybe we'll see a lot of him, Right. I don't know. We'll see with these. I know that, you know what? I do think that some of the snaps they had targeted for him in the preseason and in training camp ended up getting pushed over to Gabriel because he kind of came from out of nowhere and grabbed a hold of his opportunity. So maybe because remember, they signed more before, so maybe what they had penciled in for him returning and getting some snaps at the receiver spot, Gabriel kind of stepped up and became a favorite real quickly in this camp. So maybe that's where some of that went.
Yeah, that's true, and maybe he fills that need for a kickoff returner that Moore might otherwise be looked at for, and that might cost Moore his opportunity. But he looked like a big, rangy, strong kid, and where Gabriel's a little bit smallish, and I thought maybe you might want to take a look at the bigger guy, because one thing you lack in that receiver core is size. I mean, you've got Miles Austin and about 4 shrimps. Charles Johnson's a big guy, but we haven't seen much from him yet, and he hasn't shown us much in terms of any breakaway ability or playmaking ability beyond catching the ball and going down. So till he shows me he's 100% healthy with that knee, anybody that can give you any size in the receiving core, you might want to take a serious look at.
I'm with you, man. I'm with you. This week will be interesting for that. Not only who they play, but who they may or may not sign and who they cut and all of that. So we'll see. A lot of questions, man. It's a work in progress. And again, I keep going back to just because things are this way now, it doesn't mean that they're not going to get better. I mean, if you notice, good teams get better. There's teams that start off the season rough and they get rolling and they get going. And I mean, that's traditionally how it works. So sometimes people think that, the cast you go into game one with is just the die is cast and that's the way the season's going to go. But that's where we find out if we've got a good coaching staff or not, if we've got good player development. That's what that shows. That's a story.
That's right. And the other thing is, game day, what happens on game day, and it's my belief right now that if the Browns can steal one of the first 3 games, that'll put them in good shape. That they will come out of it, feeling better about themselves, and obviously you set the world on fire if you go to Pittsburgh and win in week 1. No one is expecting that to happen. But the Steelers didn't exactly look like the 13 Seahawks the other day. They fell behind the Eagles 24-0, and were never in that game. And I didn't get a chance to see the game because I was out. But just looking at the box score and looking at how they went behind 24-0, it couldn't have looked like like too much. I don't know if you got a chance to see them that night.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I talked about them the next day. I said, man, this is the one team that I'm not jumping off. Hey, Baltimore and Cincinnati are going to be tough, but Pittsburgh, that's not Pittsburgh, man. I said that the other day on the show. I said that is a soft Pittsburgh team, and you don't see that very often.
Yeah, so, it's not beyond the realm of possibility. Browns go in there and make a game of it, and the Saints are also not the same team on the road that they are in their dome. So, I think either of those games, one of those two games, they've got a good shot to get a W. And I think if you go 1-2 out of the gate, schedule softens up a little bit after that, and who knows what we can expect from there. But they need to get a win on those first three games, and you just can't go 0-3 because then things start to snowball.
Absolutely. Really, until we get to the first one, man, I guess, then the answers come. Then they come quickly, and then we wake up on Monday and well, it goes one way or it goes the other way. We know how these seasons go, but you're right. And I think that's a good way to look at it too, man. One, hey, if you want to get greedy, you think two, but man, you take one of those three, I think you're in good shape. As far as that's a tough. A lot of people, even you, saying about New Orleans. That's still New Orleans. I agree. They are nowhere near the Saints that they are in New Orleans as they are on the road, but that's still New Orleans, man, and they're going to come to Cleveland humming, so the Browns are going to have to show up, and as we've seen, they still don't understand how to turn the dog pound into that home field advantage yet. The Browns don't do that yet. You got to win there for that to happen.
Exactly. Well, not only that, but I said something to my buddy down there at the stadium the other night about maybe being able to beat the Saints. They're not quite as good on the road, et cetera. And he says, yeah, and we know how we are in home openers.
How
tough we are in home openers. I think we're 1-14 or something like that.
Exactly.
We don't in 15 years. So that's not exactly our night to shine. Every time we think we've got every reason to come out and play well and get the crowd behind us, they figure out a way to come out and lay an egg. And obviously that's the pre-Mike Pettin era. You know what I'm saying? So we can't make any judgments on that because that was before Jimmy and before Mike. So it's all going to be different this year. How's that for a glass half full stuff
play like
for you?
a Brown. Play like a Brown, baby.
Yeah. Now about that Tribe, Jerry.
That's where I was just going.
I was just going to say this to you. I admire you because really, no matter how bad things have gotten, and you always come on the air, and you are always looking at the bright side, and that's the only way to be, and I admire that.
I'm not going anywhere, man.
I know, but Friday night, man, I know you. Oh. If you had any hair, you were pulling it out, right, Jerry?
Oh my God. Come on! I told you, man. Friday. First
off,
I was mad enough in the eighth. The eighth inning is what did it for me. I know the ninth inning is what puts it over the top, but it was the eighth inning when it's like, okay, we get a guy on.
Oh, when you ran yourself out of a two-on no-out situation.
Come on, man.
Stupidly. Now, even when did Mike was Aviles wearing cement cleats or something out there? Even when he got caught off second base, he had a chance to get back. He just moved.
No, he couldn't get back because the guy from first came to second.
Yeah, he was on his way there. He wasn't there yet. But
I know what
you're the
saying.
lead. You're the lead runner. You got to preserve yourself.
You got to tell him to go back. You go back. But
yeah, you're right. And we don't need to rehash it. But that was just brutal.
But
brutal
then
baseball.
The ninth. Come on. You're supposed to be boom. Let's get out of this thing. And instead, we're down 5-1. Come on.
Yeah, it was crazy. And the three-run homer was just icing on the cake. The game was over when Carlos threw the ball into left field.
I'm telling you.
That game was over right there because we weren't coming back from that after what we had run ourselves out of the half inning before. But just looking more big picture and you talked about 88 wins gonna do it for you. I just you start to, like you said earlier on the show today, we're running out of games. 33 games to go, and I'm just looking at this. There's two teams that we have to beat: Seattle and Detroit. Right now, the way it shapes up, Seattle and Detroit, those teams have 71 and 70 wins respectively right now to our 66. It sounds like it's only a 4 and 5 game difference, but if you look at it this way, if they have 33 games left also. If either one of those